There we go. Anyway. Hey Hunters, HaloZoo here for a special video where I'm going to talk about my current D&D character that I've been playing as in a campaign called Tales from Alarn. This is in Roll20. So this is Varric David Stormbow. It's a picture of him. I might actually be able to pull up the Hero Forge. Or wait, no, that got deleted, didn't it? Never mind. Not gonna do that because stuff happened apparently, which is annoying but unfortunate. So anyway, this is the character. Before I begin, I kind of want to explain some of the basics where he's actually. Let's go over to the character sheet, I guess, for now. So he is a Storm Magic Sorcerer, 5th level now. He just got that human variant. These are his stats, which is actually what he started with, too. But he's an Outlander and is neutral good. But anyway, the idea I came up with for him is, what if instead of just being another spellcaster, what if he used a bow, and actually, instead of just firing spells, it would be like he fires a spell as a mystical arrow that he shoots out from an item I've called a spellbow. So that's the basics of his character. These are all the attack macros I have, of which I've made ones for all the spells of every level. There are some renamed spells in there, which have been renamed for various reasons, but anyway, let's actually look at the bio and info, because this is sort of some stuff that is about his story in this. I'll actually go over that later, but anyway, his basic stuff is he's neutral good, has Constitution, Charisma saves, as is typical for sorcerers. I put his strength at 11, mostly because it's like, he needs some strength as an Outlander, just so he can carry stuff around decently. So that's why he has strength so high. He has like 165 carry capacity because the 11. So he has decent carrying capacity. Dexterity I put at a 14 so he could have some decent AC and also have good initiative. And he does use some dex skills, and it's sort of like, yeah, it just made sense to me. He's slightly more dexterous and stealthy in some ways. Meanwhile, he has 8 Constitution because he's supposed to be a glass cannon. And quite frankly, he has other ways of getting out of combat and out of trouble. So I decided that Constitution 8, also because I almost always do that with my characters. So he does have 17 HP max, which is fun, to say the least. But his intelligence is a 12. This is partially because he has some knowledge in nature and arcana, specifically. Those are the 2 knowledge skills he has, mostly because he's an Outlander and is an explorer of sorts. Wisdom of 14 as well, for that +2 whiz, so he can get perception decently high and survival decently high as well. And the perception is actually important because he has something else that has made his perception stupidly high. It's going to be fun when our DM tries to make the enemies stealthy. You're not succeeding, buddy. Then there's also his charisma is at 16 because he's a sorcerer and uses that. He also is somewhat persuasive. He's not good at intimidating or bluffing as much. Deceiving. Nor is he that good at performance, but he is occasionally deceptive. As for other his proficiencies, he has 2 tool proficiencies thanks to a feat. And also, because I swapped the musical instrument from Outlander for Cartographer's tools. So he knows how to do maps and stuff. He also uses Tinker's tools, which is for his spellbow, so he can keep it nice and maintained. As for the languages of this world that we're playing in are slightly different and more realistic as our DM made them. So he knows Elimic Common, Ancient Elemental, High Dragon, High Elf, and Sylvan. Which is a way of making it where it's like, yeah, he gets this bunch of language proficiencies, but he also has some that are less useful, like Ancient Elemental. Not that useful, but it's more of a flavor thing where it's close to some of the other languages, and it's also from his archetype, so I replaced Primordial with Ancient Elemental. As for his abilities, 30 speed, 12 armor class, 17 HP, 5 hit dice. He also has sorcery points, but I gave him a feat that gives him more. So let's actually go over feats. So real quickly, for reference, our DM let us get a free feat at first level. So he started with 2 feats, so he has 3 now. He has Spell Sniper, which we're going to do this. Basically, spell attack rolls, double range, ignore half and 3/4 cover. And he picked up Eldritch Blast, which is renamed Electric Arrow, and now deals lightning damage. So that's Spell Sniper. He also has Prodigy, which is where he picks up Nature. He also got Tinker Tool proficiency, and he learned High Dragon as his language. And then he also gained Expertise in Perception to give him a +8 in Perception, which is basically he's not gonna miss anything. He also has Metamagic Adapt, which he gained Heightened Spell and Seeking Spell from. So he can basically make certain spells more accurate. So Heightened Spell. He can spend 3 sorcery points to give a creature disadvantage on its first saving throw. And with Seeking Spell, he can spend 2 sorcery points to re-roll the D20 if it's a spell attack. So spell attacks, he can use Seeking Spell. Save spells, he can use Heightened Spell. As for his sorcerer stuff, he has Tempestuous Magic, which, as a bonus action after casting a spell, or before or after casting a spell, at first level or higher, he can fly 10 feet without provoking opportunity attacks. Something I forgot to use for the longest time. Sorcery points. Yeah, sorcery points. Of which he actually has 7 because Metamagic Adept gives 2 free ones now. He also has Flexible Casting, which lets him make spell slots. So he can make an extra 5th level spell slot with 5. Or he can make 2 2nd level spell slots or 3 1st level spell slots using sorcery points. And he can also use sorcery points or spell slots to make more sorcery points for himself. But it's equal to the level, not that. So there's that. Metamagic is stuff he can use to enhance the spells. He has Distant Spell, which doubles range. And Empowered Spell, which increases damage. So he can re-roll dice. I've used that to great effect. Also, I just realized you only need to use it once and get multiple rolls. Oh, well. And he's also gotten Magical Guidance now because Tasha's, which lets him spend sorcery points to re-roll ability checks. Yay. As for the cream sodas, he likes them. And as to talk about those personality traits. Anyway, for a little bit of context, he's been an adventurer for a long time. He was an adventurer for the past 4 years leading up to the game, as he's 24 as of now. And he's been through a lot at this point. He's had plenty of experience, especially when he was younger. He also watches over friends, and more specifically, due to his past, which I'll talk about in a bit, he does not like the prospect of losing anyone else close to him. He's lost too much and does not want to lose anything more. His ideal is nature. He protects the world and all of its beauty and glory. So he kind of has a connection to nature and the wild. His bond is he's the last of his family, and I will keep it going. So that's part of his inspiration, is that he is the last Stormbow. And his flaw is he's kind of addicted to cream soda, though he will actually avoid alcohol, mostly because he kind of knows that he's more susceptible to becoming an alcoholic than others. So for him, it's more like, I avoid it just because I know I'm going to be tempted to use it a lot more. So it's more of a, I avoid alcohol because I know I'm more likely to be an alcoholic. Let's actually go over to bio and info. Help slay Noinkfek, the unlucky Null. That was the first thing we did, was we went after these Nulls that were attacking caravans and stuff, and put simply, Noinkfek was this big goblin or Null boss that was supposed to be like the big boss and give us a bunch of trouble, maybe get some characters low. Let's see what happened to him. I immediately dropped a shatter on him. We started at 3rd level, by the way. And he then proceeded to miss his first 2 attacks. Then I critically hit him with a Chromatic Arrow, which is renamed Chromatic Orb. And then I ended up having to run down a hallway because I had just crit him and no one was standing between me and him. So I had to get away. He chased after me, caught up, then proceeded to miss 2 attacks against me as the barbarian of our group chased after him to save me and then critically hit and killed him. Oh my gosh, that was funny. But anyway, also currently the incidental leader of the adventuring party. As for might be named the Scale Claw, that's just something that hasn't happened yet. But regardless, he is sort of the incidental leader, and especially now that we've recently dealt with some stuff on the battle that was in this map behind, he actually happened to be involved with that, so it's sort of like he's naturally being pushed towards being the leader of the group, as he is sort of the face of the party, and also is one of the ones who's been there from the start, and also in some ways the most sensible person to lead, especially since he has a heavy connection to what seems to be the main story. He's been hunted by a demon cult devoted to an ancient and forgotten demon lord, because he's the last direct descendant of the Stormbow who imprisoned, banished, or slew the demon lord. As for his death could cause its return, that's kind of been scrapped. But We don't know whether it was... I'm... I just realized I misspelled that. But he was imprisoned. We do know that. Or banished, specifically. And we actually have an idea on who this unknown demon lord is in the story of its defeat. Currently, it was beaten by an unknown, quote-unquote, Stormbow. It's actually the name of the family before Stormcaller, as well as many generations ago in the dragon Chromatic, who will be mentioned later. He also had siblings. He had a younger brother and sister. His sister was 2 years younger than him. His brother was 4 years younger than him. Interestingly, they were also spellbows, as the Stormbows are basically a family of royal sorcerers in some ways, who are basically the most powerful, or at least the most famous spellbows in the entire world, and the most famous sorcerer lineage, as they have been heroes for generations. Even before they took the name Stormbow, they were actually great adventurers and heroes, though no one remembers what their original name was. And normally, there's only one sibling, but Varric has two, or had two, who died in the attack on the Stormbows. They were also spellbows, which is unusual, as typically only the eldest is a spellbow, and more specifically, is the only one who's a Storm Sorcerer. And Oghren was actually a Storm Sorcerer. And their father was more of a hail and snow Stormbow, and Oghren actually would gain those abilities, while their mother was a Geomancer, and Bianca, Varric's sister, was like their mother Harding, which meant she was a Geomancer, though she was also a spellbow. As for the next two things, these are things that occurred in the story. So we found information on the Storm Wielders and Stormcallers, potentially the Stormbow's predecessors. Uncovered information on the Forgotten Demon Lord, linked to Chromatic, Fo Ma Ni, and who's basically a blue dragon who long ago in this world overthrew the Dragon Empire and was known as the Traitor / Liberator, and also the Banisher. And then most recently, he's found a lead on the cult who slew his family and intends to hunt them down. And with the aid of his team, the other characters, Varric found where the cult was located, which seems to have been another tomb, like the one of Chromatic. So possibly someone else involved. The crew was able to kill all of the cultists and their leader, who almost got away. Like, literally, it's like, next turn he gets away. And we killed him. So Varric finally has some peace of mind, as, side note, until now, he has not ever caught up to the cult's activities. He's gotten close, but never found them until now. And Varric is currently planning to meet with an acquaintance in the Imperial Museum, where this thing called the Prism Scale is. And we kind of know that these are important, and there's one we can find in the Imperial Museum. He's also planning to return to Storm's Rest in time for his sister's birthday. Party is not supposed to know this yet, by the way. As he promised himself. And to the party, he says it's just because of the festival just after his sister's birthday. So basically, she was born on this festival that's only celebrated in Storm's Rest. And officially, he's going there because of the festival, which also does have to do with the Stormbows, as one of his ancestors basically brought these refugees to Storm's Rest and helped it expand a little bit. Because previously it was just like some middle of nowhere town that has an inn and a small market. That was pretty much it. And the Stormbow Manor. But then it became a slightly bigger town where it's like it's got a decent sized market, though it's mostly traveling merchants. And it also has a few other businesses now. So it has expanded thanks to that. And that's the festival is basically the people celebrating when they were given a new home by the Stormbows. As for his spells, he has quite a few now. He has 6 cantrips and 6 leveled spells, actually. So let's go over the cantrips first. Electric Arrow is Eldritch Blast, but renamed. I need to change a few things about this. And he now shoots 2. And he basically shoots 2 static arrows. And as a ranged attack, 240-foot range now, thanks to Spell Sniper. Then we have Arrow of Frost, which is Ray of Frost, just reflavored to be an Arrow of Ice instead of just a ray. Shocking Slash, which is renamed Shocking Grasp, which also, quick side note, is that Varric is also something known as a Spellblade, meaning he can create a magical blade of elemental energy and use it in combat. So Shocking Slash is the Spellblade version of Shocking Grasp. So he creates Spellblade, slashes at an enemy with it. We also have Thunder Sweep, which is a Spellblade version of Thunderclap. So basically just a big sweep attack. Hits everything around him. He also has Gust, which is Gust, which he has for obvious reasons. Why wouldn't he have that? And then last but not least, we have Stone Shot, which is a recontextualized acid splash that deals piercing damage instead of acid. And it's an arrow of splitting stone, launches at a target or 2, and it deals cleave damage. Then he has Chromatic Arrow, which fires an arrow of one of many types of damage. Though typically he'll only pick cold, fire, lightning, or thunder. He does not really pick acid or poison. Mostly because, like, as a Stormbow, he doesn't really have any reason to do it. Though fire would be more like he's summoning magma and firing it out. As Varric is also a bit of a geomancer. He has like 3 spells currently that he can use for geomancy. Then we have Ice Arrow, which is Ice Knife renamed. So it fires a shard, hits, and then Explosion of Cold. Then we have Thunderwave, which is Thunderwave. It's pretty much the same, except it also uses a Spellblade. So he basically conjures a Spellblade, slashes with it in a big uppercut, and it slams everything in front of him. Shatter, pretty much the same, except it's fired from an arrow. And that's what it does now. So he fires an arrow, explodes. Earthen Salvo is Scorching Ray, but now deals piercing damage and creates 3 arrows of earth that he fires off. And he can now make 4 instead of 3 if he wants with a 3rd level spell slot. And speaking of 3rd level, we have Lightning Bolt, which is lightning bolts, except it fires arrow-piercing lightning, is how it's been changed. Not a big change, but it's there. So he basically fires a big, long arrow of lightning that pierces through a bunch of stuff in a 100-foot line. As for bio stuff, let's not worry about that. Oh, good. It doesn't show the other characters that nobody's supposed to know about, these 4. Especially, too, that Nietzsche's player does not need to worry about yet. I'm going to surprise her with them. Anyway, that's pretty much it for Varric Stormbow. So, anyway, thank you for joining me in this lovely video. Prepare to see OBS. But anyway, that is Varric David Stormbow and some of the basics of his character. And without further ado, see y'all next time. HaloZoo out.